should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. Preferably in a residential area.
The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What's happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And live on Hoppe Hour at the Toco Works headquarters where I internet is comedian Andy Woodhull, who you can see all this weekend at Side Splitters in Tampa Bay. He is live on the show. What's up, dude?
Hey, Ryan. What's up, man?
I'm glad that you got back to me on Facebook because I hit you up because I love promoting all the acts that are at Side Splitters, so it felt good to have you on, man.
Yeah, hey, happy to be here.
So how has everything been? How often are you touring?
Every week, just about. I mean, if things are good, I'm on the road every week.
What is the key to not burning out? Because for radio guys, we talk into the mic for about 3 hours, and then we're done, and then we can go to the gym. We have a life on the side. You, at times, are doing 3 shows a night. What is the key to not burning out, Andy?
Well, I love it. I love doing it's not 3 shows every night. 3-show nights are pretty rare. I mean, there's only this club and maybe St. Louis still does it. There's not a lot of 3-show a night clubs. So it's still fun. Sometimes there's a show that feels like work because it's not a lot of people there or you had a long day. But for the most part, I still love doing it every week.
How do you go through shows when there's not that many people there? Do you just see it as like an open mic where you're being paid? What's the vibe like when you go to these towns and maybe there's a sports event going on at the same time, so not as many people show up? Yeah. What keeps you motivated for those gigs?
Well, yeah, you can. I wouldn't necessarily treat it like an open mic just because those people paid. Yeah. So you don't want to just do open mic, but you can certainly try new things and I talk to the audience more if it's a super small audience than I do when it's a big audience. You feel them out. You see what they're comfortable with. You can't just. When I was starting, they said just perform like you're performing for a big group of people all the time. Always give them the show. But you can't really give them the show sometimes when there's only 10 people there. Yeah. Because it would be real uncomfortable for them.
Now, when you're talking to the audience, what are some things you say? Where are you from? Or do you like to mess around with them more? Is it more of a roast?
No, I'm pretty nice. I'm nice. I guess I will make fun of people, and that is where my sense of humor tends to. But I don't have specific things that I ask. I will ask, where are you from? I just ask, what do you do for a living? And then I try to say something funny afterwards.
Have you gotten better at it over time? Like, does this come with maybe an experience in the past with improv? Are you good with interactions with humans? How do you do it? You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm great at interactions with humans. I really excel at interacting with people. Yeah, it's like everything. You learn how to do it. You learn where you can go and where you can't go and what works and what doesn't. You practice anything, you get good at it.
Isn't it weird how when you are forced to like talk to people for a job, like I work in promotions at 102.5 The Bone, so I work these events for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm on the radio at times too. Isn't it weird how when you're a creative person, it kind of makes you more social because it gets you out of your little egg? You know what I mean?
Maybe. I don't know. I've never struggled with being antisocial. Maybe.
Were you always kind of the class clown?
Not necessarily. I always like to be funny and be around funny people, but I was like a good student, I think. Not a great student, but I wasn't acting out. Oh, yeah?
You seem like a very smart guy. Just the way you carry yourself, it's in a very classy manner. I'm a very average guy that does a podcast. You know what I mean?
No, you're great. Listen to how deep your voice is. You're like 7 feet tall. Come on, man.
Yeah, that was the first thing you said. You had to have me turn down the headphone levels because my voice is so booming.
Yeah, it's really booming in my ears still.
It's one of the weirdest voices out there in radio. You know what I mean? Like, how did you find your voice for comedy? Like, when I first began in radio, I had the worst speech impediment, and I've worked on it over the years. For you, have you come a long way, or have you been good at comedy this whole time?
Yeah, I was really good right away. Well, my mom is a speech therapist, so I've always enunciated flawlessly.
You seem like you would enunciate flawlessly.
But yeah, when you start, you find people that you like, and then you start to sound like them, and then eventually someone goes, hey, you sound exactly like this person, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta completely stop listening to their comedy. And then
Does that make you not listen to any comedy then?
No, you don't want to do that either, because there's stuff that you can learn from listening. Yeah. But if there's somebody that you love and you're listening to them all the time, and then you listen to your sets and you sound exactly like them, then you have to be like, oh, I shouldn't listen to that. I got to listen to other things. And then the people that you like influence you, and you find your own thing. I think that I'm there now, but I'm still getting better, I think. And I don't know. Maybe I'll sound different a year from now.
What is your key after you have a good show to not get too cocky, but to be confident at the same time? Like, to me, I'll have these interviews with big names, and I get so cocky, then I go home to my small apartment. And
that's what makes you not cocky. That's right.
Going right back to where you live.
The next minute of the reality of your life is what makes sure.
Is that what happens to you?
Yeah, all the time. Like, the day after I did The Tonight Show, I flew coach back to Calgary because I was doing this club in Calgary, and I flew to New York to do The Tonight Show. It was like the biggest, coolest thing that's ever happened. And then the next day I'm in coach, middle seat, on the flew to Calgary. I think I had 2 connections.
Yeah.
It was just a terrible flight, and I got all the way back to the club I was playing. Only 10 people in the audience, and then, like, any ego I had from the night before was gone the next day.
The same thing happened with me. I had Jim Norton on the show about 4 months ago, and it went really well. And then I went home to my apartment, and I live in a sketchy neighborhood, and my neighbors are all like rednecks that are crazy, and I was up till 5 because they were having an ecstasy party. So I'm like, Jim Norton lives in this great penthouse in New York City, and I'm here in the ghetto of St. Pete. I'm back to normal. You know what I mean? Isn't it
great.
What like motivates you is when you go back to your normal life, it makes you want to keep on grinding?
I don't know. I think enjoying being funny is what makes me want to keep working hard. My life isn't the most sexy or glamorous life of all time, but it's comfortable and I like it, and I don't just because I don't make that much money, but what I always say to myself and what I would say to other people is the amount of free time I have is worth so much more to me than a big house or a new car every 2 years. I'm my own boss. I get to do exactly what I want to do with my life. And that makes me really happy. It'd be nice if I had more stuff, but I'm not looking at my life like it's awful right now. I think it's pretty great.
What are some things you do in your free time since you have some free time? Like, do you play Xbox? Do you smoke weed? What do you do?
Well, I love going to the comedy club and hanging out with comics.
Hanging out with comics is great, by the way.
Yeah, hanging out with comics is the most fun thing to do. I have 2 stepdaughters. I love spending time with them. They're great. I love to just do whatever they're into at the time. I got a wife. I hang out with her.
What's that like once you get married?
I love my dog more than everything else in my life. In what terms once you get married?
Like, is it just the like switch where once you go and you put on the ring and you have the big ceremony, does your life just change immediately and you lose all freedom?
No, because I think you're still the same people that you were before you got married. Like, you shouldn't. I mean, I don't know what freedom you lose. Like, if you're in a relationship and you're not married, your girlfriend's probably going to leave you if you cheat on her.
Yeah.
If you're in a marriage and you have sex with someone else, she's going to leave you. I mean, it's not really different. It's really the main thing that I loved when I first got married. It's a weird thing, but when I was dating someone and we had a big fight, it would be like, well, I guess this is over, But then when you're married, you're like, wow, we had a big fight. I guess we better get over it.
But what was the key? When did you know that she was the right woman for you for the rest of your life until you die? Like, what is that moment where you go, I think I love her enough where I want to live with her forever?
There wasn't one. It's just I was
the emotions.
Yeah, the emotions. This is super unromantic, but I don't think that I was any more in love with her than I was other women that I've dated. It was just that point in my life, I wanted to be in a family. And the other times I was in relationships and I was in love, I didn't want to be in a family. I didn't want to be married. And so when we got in a big fight, it's like, all right, well, let's break up. And then I just got to a point like I'm on the road every week. What I loved most about dating my wife was when we hang out and the kids are there. It's like, oh, this is what everyone's talking about. It's nice to be in a family. It's nice to not go home and be alone.
Yeah,
every night.
I was
nice.
in a relationship for about 7 weeks. It was my first girlfriend about 3 months ago. And it was kind of nice to go home, you know, get laid, hang out with somebody. But I had to get rid of her because she was getting jealous of the quote-unquote success I'm having. She would always bitch about that. And she lived with her parents. And I'll be honest, ever since I dumped her, I am kind of alone. It's one of those things where I don't miss her at all.
Oh, man.
But I miss the idea. You know what I mean?
Like a lot of, that doesn't sound like a good relationship. You want to find a woman that's comfortable with who she is and isn't upset with. I mean, my wife is like that. She's an independent person, and like her happiness isn't totally dependent on me. And that's what that's the most important thing to find in someone, I think. Someone that like you can share a life with and you don't have to be their whole life.
And how did you first meet your lovely wife?
Well, we tell this story differently. She tells it a lot more romantically than I do. We're both from the same small town in Elkhart, Indiana. We used to live on the same street.
Speaking of Elkhart, Indiana, my car broke down when I worked for a show in Cleveland. I drove there, and my car crashed right in front of the RV Hall of Fame.
Yeah, RV Hall of Fame. It's right there, man.
I love Elkhart, Indiana. My car died.
So do I.
And I was on the side of the highway for 7 hours. Elkhart will always be a part of my heart.
Wow, that's nice. That would be a negative experience for a lot of people.
But going back to you, how did you first meet her in Elkhart, Indiana?
So we met because we lived on the same street, and our parents were friends, and they kind of had a babysitting co-op where parents would take turns taking the kids so that other people could go out. And so we knew each other when we were like 0 to maybe 3 or 4.
Aww.
And then my family moved, and I didn't see her again until we were adults. But I have friends, because she lived in my town until she was 13, so I have friends that knew her. And I was playing the club where we live now in Raleigh, North Carolina. And often what I do when I'm on the road, I don't actually do it way less now. I would email people like, oh, you live in that town. I'm going to be there. I can give you some tickets to come to the show. If you can come, it's great. I'd love to hang out. If you can't come, just tell me something fun to do in your city because I'm going to be there all weekend.
Was that a way to get laid?
It worked that way a few times.
Nice.
It worked that way a few times. But, it was also just a way, I did it with dudes too. Like, not to bang dudes, but it wasn't exclusively a strategy to get laid.
Well, that's a good way to have fun when you go to a town where you don't know anybody.
It's the best way because you know people and then they want to come out and they want to bring friends to see the show, which makes you look good at the club. And then you have some people to hang out with and it's great. And you get to, like, I get to see so many people, family members and like old classmates and old friends that I lose touch with just because I'm traveling and I play their town and then I hang out with them and we're friends that week and it's great. I forgot what I was talking about. So anyway, I played the club in Raleigh and she came out and, and then we just stayed in touch. I was not living there. Well, we didn't live in the same city until we got married. We just stayed in touch. We spent time together when I was not on the road and, we fell in love, man.
That's adorable. That is so touching.
But that's the way I tell the story. The way she tells it is much more romantic. That it's like this. Oh, how were we able to find each other?
You don't seem very romantic.
How were we able to find each other after all these years? Well, Facebook is how we found each other. I did one search. It was the easiest thing.
And what was her thing like when you first went on her Facebook profile? What was the profile picture like? Was it sexy? Was it her reading a book?
I think it was like a silhouette of her. Yeah, it wasn't a clear. I didn't even really know what she looked like when she came to the club. And also, the first time she came, this makes it all sound like scandalous, especially since we just talked. But the first time she came with a friend. She was married, and there was no like romance at all. And then the next year I came back, and she was divorced, and I didn't even know that she was divorced. She just, I don't remember who contacted who first, or maybe I wrote her again and was like, hey, I'm coming back. It was cool to see you. Bring your friends out again. You know, because that's what happened the first time. She just brought a friend, and they came to the club, and it was cool. And then the next time, she was like, did you want to get breakfast? And then we went and met for breakfast, and I was like, are you not married anymore?
She seems like she's very romantic.
Oh, she's so romantic.
And you seem like the guy that... How old were you when you sent her the friend request on Facebook?
I don't know, maybe 31, 32.
So this was the point where you were trying to find someone, and you're like, hey, why not try her when she came to the comedy club? And it ended up working for you.
But I will say, the first time that I wrote to her, it wasn't. I admit that it's a way to hook up, but it wasn't exclusively for that. It was mostly to get people to come to the club, specifically to see me, and for me to find something to do in the town. You
seem like you're very good at getting people to come to your shows, and you're very good at networking. Like, I need to get out of my shell, but it's different because if you're at
the show last night, you wouldn't feel like I was good at getting people to come out to the show.
No one came?
No, there was people. There was probably like 40 people there, but the room seats, I don't know, 200, 300.
But then your laughs were even louder in the crowd, right? Because you could hear them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I crushed it, for sure.
What is your key to crushing it when you go up there, when there's just 40 people there? Do you bring a different type of comedy if there's 40 people there, or it's sold out? How do you approach it?
Well... No, not really. Like I was saying earlier, I will talk to the audience more if it's a small group. But I try to still put on a show. I try to not shit on them too. Like a mistake I think a lot of people make, especially a lot of young comics, is talking too much about how there's no one there. And then the people that are there start to feel uncomfortable, like it's their fault.
It gets hacky.
They just start to feel like they start to feel bad, like sorry that more people didn't come. You know, it's like our fault that you're having a bad time. Where it's the comedian's job to make sure the audience has a good time, even if there's only 10 of them.
What are some of the topics that you are talking about? Are you talking about Trump? Are you talking about the news? What are the topics and routines that you bring to the comedy show?
I'm still talking about my life. I talk about my wife. I talk about being a stepdad. I talk about my stepdaughters.
What's that like?
Being a stepdad?
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I love being a stepdad. There's definitely downsides to being a stepdad over a biological father. There's upsides, too. Like, what parent wouldn't like to have every other weekend off of being a parent? That's not the worst.
You seem like you're a very good father figure for them not being your kids. You got a very laid-back moral vibe.
Laid-back moral vibe?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a good example. Laid-back morals?
No, but I mean... Are you from the South? Because you're from Elkhart, so that's kind of the middle.
Midwest. I'm from the Midwest, yeah.
What part are you from?
Elkhart. It's northern Indiana.
I'm from Chicago, so we kind of have that laid-back
about
Midwest
2 hours
vibe.
From Chicago and Elkhart, yeah.
Isn't the Midwest so humbling when you live there and then you go to, like, the big cities or you go to the South and you're like, man, America's batshit crazy?
Well, yeah, it is, because when you're brought up in the Midwest, a weird thing is you're not supposed to brag about yourself. It's like a big thing that we're brought up with. You're not supposed to brag about yourself. And then you go to New York and LA, and like when you meet comics, they tell you their credits. You know what I mean? They'll just, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm blah, blah, blah.
I was on Comics Unleashed.
Yeah,
I did this. I did this.
They do that as soon as you meet them.
Down.
And it's when you first meet people like that, you're like, oh, this is awful. These people are so rude. But they're not rude. They didn't grow up with that humble being, I don't know, ingrained into them or something.
Do you think they're trying to overcompensate because they're not as far as they want to be? So they're trying to make it seem
I don't
like
even
bigger?
know if that's the thing. You know what? It's actually an asset in stand-up and show business in general, I think, to have that kind of ego, to have that, because you meet people, and if I'm meeting you for the first time, Ryan, and I've gotten over my thing of trying to be humble all the time a little bit, because I know that it doesn't help you. If I meet you for the first time and you have no idea who I am, and I don't talk about like that I'm successful, I could leave and you'd be like, wow, that guy was nice, but you know, who knows if he's funny or not.
Yeah.
But if I come in and I'm like, yeah, I was on the Tonight Show last year, I was on Conan, I had a half-hour special, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this guy's like a real player in comedy.
Look at him.
Yeah,
look at
and
those
it's
credits.
not necessarily a negative character trait. I think it's necessary, especially in this, because you're constantly networking and meeting people that don't know you, and they're not going to Google you to compliment you on the things that you've done. You have to let them know.
Well, isn't it weird when you just try to name drop just to say to someone what you do? Like, if I meet someone in radio, I'll go to these radio conventions, and you go, I do this, and I've done this. They care. But when you say it to a friend, it sounds like you're bragging. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It's a hard thing to get over, and I still prefer, if I meet someone that's not in the business or anything, I won't say anything. I won't even say I'm a comedian. I don't lie. If they ask me, I'll tell them.
Well, do you ever get recognized in public at all? Because I do sometimes, because I work for 102.5 The Bone, and I have the tall, goofy, lanky thing going for me. So I'll get recognized at bars, and I appreciate anyone that comes up to me. But I never go to the bar and go, hey, can I have a free shot? I work at 102.5 The Bone. I've never do that.
I wish that I got more free stuff. I've been recognized, but almost never. It very rarely happens. I'm at a level of fame. I do this as a bit sometimes. I don't want to act like I'm doing bits, but I do this as a bit sometimes. It shows I'm at a level of fame where I can open the door, like I can walk into the comedy club with people that are there to see me and paid money to see me. I can open the door for them. They'll say thank you very much, and not have known that I was the headliner that they paid to see that night. That's the level that I'm at. I would get recognized if there's a bar next to the comedy club that I performed at, and I'm there like the minute after I finish performing.
And they'll be like, oh, we saw those signs up front.
Sometimes those don't work because my headshot's from like 2009, so they don't even recognize me from that.
It did look a bit older. Your hair was a lot different back then. You kind of had like a bowl cut going on.
Well, I mean, we don't need to insult my haircut. I feel like I looked handsome, but...
Well, I sort of look like Sloth from the Goonies, so I'm not the best looking guy either, Andy. No worries on that.
Well, I am great looking. Well, I mean, this is a podcast, but you can Google me and find out.
You do hit the gym, too. I can tell by those arms.
No, I don't hit the gym. I'm in terrible shape. I've been running. I've been starting to run just because I'm like, in January, I weighed myself, and I was the fattest I've ever been. And that's not the first time that's ever happened to me. There's been more than once where I've, like, weighed myself, and that's, oh, my God, that's the fattest I've ever been. When we first bought the scale, there was like 2 months straight where every day I would weigh myself, and I was the fattest that I had ever been because I was just getting fatter and fatter. So I've been trying to work out a little, but I'm still, I'm far from in good shape.
Well, when I was with my girl for 5 to 7 weeks, whatever it was, she wanted to eat junk food all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up gaining weight, so now it feels good to lose it. But isn't it awful when you don't think you weigh as much as you do, and you go on the scale, and you're like, fuck, I'm 250.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. It's a real bummer to see that number.
And then you do the math, and you're like, all right, in 2013, I was 220. And then you're like, fuck, I gained 30 pounds in 3 years.
Yeah, and it's funny. My wife is like in great shape. She looks great, and we had a scale in her bedroom, and she'll just get on it with her clothes on. I'm like, what kind of fucking balls do you have?
Yeah, who does that?
With your clothes on? That's insane. I'm at a point where I feel like even if I was getting a physical and they're like, you're going to get on the scale, I would be like, I'm going to get in my underwear before I get on that scale.
I do that too. I make sure I take off my shoes just because I want the precise amount. I've done it a few times where I'll weigh myself naked in the locker room, and they will look at you weird at the gym. There was this one time I got out of the shower at the gym, and this one black guy was like, yo, dude, you got to put on some clothes. We don't want to see your cock. And I was like, all right, dude. Thanks for looking at my dick.
Yeah. Eyes up here, buddy. We're in the men's room.
Dude, there is this weird...
I wish we were more comfortable with being naked. Other cultures, old people, super comfortable with being naked.
And it wasn't like I was naked for 20 minutes. I was just walking out of the shower, going to my locker to put on the clothes. Which is what I hate about the gym is that muscle head complex. Where everybody's overcompensating because they have nothing going in their life. And all they have is the muscles. I don't know if you've ever been to the gym when you see those guys.
I wish you would have just ended the sentence. I don't know if you've ever been to the gym. It's unclear to me from looking at you if you've ever been to a gym. Do you know what they are?
Have you heard of one?
I've seen dudes at a gym. I don't go to the gym, though.
It's the worst, dude. I could do a rant about it forever because, you've at least seen it on Facebook when they're like, yeah, getting the gains in. I'm eating eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's like, why are you telling us about your results? Just gain them. Like, it goes back to the whole thing on social media, Andy, where everybody needs to brag about what they're doing, about their cars, because they have nothing else in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is. People definitely put stuff on there just because they want other people to see that they have it.
But then what's weird is people would think we're plug whores for plugging your gigs and me plugging my show. Yeah. It's like, are we any different than the people who brag about their muscles? Because we're trying to make it.
No,
they're
not
trying to make it.
We're all pieces of shit. Everybody.
How has social media changed the game over the last 10 years? Because I'm 22 years old, so I had a MySpace, but that was when I was in middle school. And back then, it was just making sure that we had the right people in our top 8. But now social media is so much more prominent. Have you seen this new recent thing where the movie Idiocracy is coming to life with social media?
I mean, I don't know specifically, but I do believe that parts of that movie are coming to life for sure. I don't know. I think social media is cool because of how connected everyone is. I think it's cool that, like, you never lose touch with people. Like, if you're wondering what your buddy from elementary school is up to, you could just do a fast search on their name and say what's up. I think it's really cool. I think it's cool for comedy fans. Like, if somebody saw my special and wrote to me that they liked it, I wrote them back. I mean, there wasn't so many. Yeah,
you got back to me real quick. I was pretty pumped.
Yeah, I write back to people because I'm super famous. People can't because there's so many people. Yeah. But I'm still, and a lot of people, like probably a lot of most people's favorite comedians would write them back if you wrote them a message to tell them.
Yeah, Vic Henley got back to me. All the comics that go on Opie and Jim. It's cool when they get back to you because it reminds us, like me, because I'm trying to make it in life, that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're Kevin Hart or you're some open micer. We're all guys trying to make it in life, and we're creative. And it feels good when people don't sell out, you know?
Yeah. It's cool. And all comedians, I mean, not all, but I think like 98% of comedians are really good people.
When I met Jim Norton and when I met Nick and all these comics from Tough Crowd Are Cool to You, Nick DiPaolo, Sam Morrell, Dan Soder, when they're all nice to me on the phone, I'm like, wow, they're no different than me. They're just funny and talented. You know what I mean?
You're doing fine.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. So where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? Because you're growing by the minute. You were on Conan. You were on Jimmy Fallon. Are you going to keep up the grind? Do you ever get disheartened? Because I'm young, but at times I'm like, what am I doing with this career? I've fixed my speech impediment. I'm doing pretty good, but will I ever make it? Do you ever get disheartened, or do you like where you're going?
Yeah, I like where I'm going. Sometimes I can get bummed out. I mean, what I want to do is just keep doing more TV spots, keep making new fans, and start having more people come to the show because they're my fan rather than because it's a good comedy club that I'm playing. Most of the time when people come see me, they maybe Googled a video because they saw I was the headliner. But when people come because they know who you are, it's just the coolest thing. To me, it's the best. When after a show, when I'm selling CDs or something, if people come up and they're like, I don't want to buy it, I already have it, I just want to let you know I'm your fan.
Be flattering.
Or if they're like, I wish you would have done this joke, like you should just shout it out. I would have tried to do it because it means so much to me that you are an actual fan of mine. Because they must exist, but the majority of the people at the shows are still people that I'm winning over. Every night.
What was it like when you were on both Conan show and Jimmy Fallon show? How surreal is that? When you're up in front of the crowd and you're like, I'm on some prominent late night talk shows.
I mean, it's awesome. It's the most fun. I always say doing stand-up is the most fun thing in the world. It's so fun. I love it more than anything. I can't believe I get to do it. And doing it on TV is like steroids of how fun just doing it in front of a regular crowd is. It's so great. And Conan and the Tonight Show, it's like you're just on such an adrenaline high. You walk out on stage, you say the jokes basically from muscle memory.
Yeah.
And then you walk off the stage, and It's so great. What was so great about doing the half hour was that first 5-6 minutes go by, and then you're still doing it. That was the first time at a TV taping where I ever like got to really enjoy it. The late night TV sets happen so fast that you're barely in the moment. You're just you're going. The whole day is clicking up a roller coaster, and then
once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
What I like about you too is I was looking at your resume. You've been on all these shows that give you the right exposure. You've been on Comics Unleashed. You were on Bob and Tom. It seems like you're a guy that's well versed, that knows where to be at the right time. Because everything you've been on, Conan, Bob and Tom, Comics Unleashed.
I don't know
Fallon.
if that's true. I've been on everything that's asked me to be on it. There's no strategy. I'm not turning anything down. Same with clubs. People will be like, they'll write me on Twitter, why don't you come to Houston? Well, I would. Yeah. I'm not avoiding Houston. I'd do anything.
Are there any towns that you would avoid?
No.
Flint, Michigan?
I would go to any. I would love to go to Flint, Michigan. They booked me there for a weekend. I would do it in a second.
What are some towns, though, that when you see that you're being booked there, you're like, oh, it's going to be a crazy weekend? Would it be like New Orleans? What are some towns where you look at it? Would it be Tampa Bay in Florida?
Well, there are definitely towns that I've been to that I've had fun at, and I look forward to going back. I mean, you're from Chicago. I lived in Chicago for 9 years.
You did? What part?
On the north side of the city. I lived in like Lakeview, and then
I lived in good old Mount Prospect, the suburbs. The mean blocks of it, dude.
Yeah, well, I love Chicago more than any other city. It's my favorite.
Oh, it's the best by far, dude. Best food. It's big, but it's not douchey like New York City. It's very laid back and humble. Mm-hmm. It gets way too much hate. What I hate about the negativity that it gets is everybody thinks it's a walking ghetto like Baltimore or something. They think like there's shootings that go outside Wrigley Field or Sears Tower. It's like, no, that's just on that part of town by where the White Sox play, you know?
Well, every city has good parts and bad parts of town, dangerous parts. And I think Chicago's great, though. It's so fun. So fun to hang out there. I look forward to there. Cincinnati is a city that just has so many cool comics and such a great comedy scene. I love going to Cincinnati. I love going to Minneapolis for the same reason.
What about Cleveland?
I haven't gotten to do a ton in Cleveland, but there's one club in Cleveland, Hilarities, that I love to do.
I worked in radio in town there.
Really?
It was good.
Yeah, it's in a really cool area where the club is. They put you up a nice hotel. The club's great. I love Cleveland.
Cleveland's a town that gets way too much hate. It's a very negative, unhappy, drunken town, but at the same time, there's a lot worse cities in America than Cleveland. They have sport teams. They have enough bars to get fucked up at. Like, Cleveland's all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great town.
What is the best show you've done? Out of all the cities you've been to, what's one that comes to your mind, Andy, when you're like, oh, I fucking killed it in this city?
Well, I was just in Spokane, Washington. They have a brand new club in Spokane, Washington. Yeah. Where I had never been before, and this amazing club opened there, and I had great shows that weekend. Yeah. I felt really good. I felt like my new material that I've been working on worked better than it's ever worked. Yeah. And it was great. And then the next week was when I became humble again, when I went to Hilton Head, South Carolina, and had terrible shit.
What was wrong when you went to Hilton Head, South Carolina?
Here's the difference between the shows I was doing in Spokane. So I put out an album last year called Step Parenting, and I was really proud of it. But when you put out a comedy album as a comedian, I mean, I'm not Louis C.K. or Bill Burr. I don't have to flip my material so that my fans aren't coming to the show and only hearing jokes they know. Because most people that come to see me don't know who I am. So I don't have to. I just want to. I want to flip my material, so I'm working on it. And it's not like I drop everything. I just gradually, one joke at a time. So when I was in Spokane, I was doing shows where I did one joke off of my old album. Yeah. Just one joke, all new material, one old joke. And it was great. It was I was doing 50 minutes to 55 minutes every night. And
That's good.
It was great. And I was so happy. And then I went to Hilton Head, and I had to do like half of my album in addition to all the new... Because that's the amount that people were laughing in comparison from Spokane, Washington to South Carolina. I had to do twice the amount of material to fill 50 minutes.
What is your key to not giving up and not just walking off? Like, how do you keep going? How do you keep the motivation up?
Money.
Yeah.
Money. You don't get paid if you quit.
Plus, you'll never see them again, and it's better to just keep going.
Yeah.
And
it's
quit
not like
early.
I was bombing those shows in South Carolina. The people that were at the shows had a good time. It's just that's how good the shows in Washington were.
Are there some towns that just don't dig your comedy whatsoever?
I don't know if that's true, because I feel like I play the South, I play the North, I play the East Coast, the West Coast.
Yeah.
My stuff's pretty universal because I talk about myself and, like I said, being a parent, and it's just something that everyone...
That's why your comedy works everywhere, is because it's not hacky, and nobody can ever take from you what has happened in your life, which is why you're an original comic, because that is the key to not being hacky, is just being yourself. To me, when a comic is hacky, is when they're overcompensating or they're trying to be something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I first started, Mike Birbiglia gave me that advice. He said that's the only way that you can be original is if you talk about yourself. And up until he said that to me, I was doing jokes like Seinfeld. I was doing observational.
And nothing is original anymore.
And then I changed. Yeah, everything's done. There's thousands and thousands of comics. And on top of all the comics, there's millions of people on Twitter writing jokes.
Oh, yeah.
So
comic.
Any Trump joke that you come up with, that's other advice that I got about why you should write about yourself was in a comedy class that I took. It was like, why would you write a joke about current events? I mean, not that you shouldn't write jokes about current events, but when you write a joke about current events, you can perform it, and it has a shelf life, and also there's 5 late night shows with staffs of professional writers also writing a joke on that topic. Like, the one that you come up with might be better than anything that they come up with, but the chances are they're going to come up with one better than what you got.
Yeah, nothing makes me more mad than when you have those fake accounts, like fake Will Ferrell on Twitter, and it gets 20,000 retweets, and it's some unoriginal joke about Trump, and everybody thinks it's real, and you're like, oh, God, come on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Twitter is so hard. I think that I write the funniest tweets sometimes, and if I get like 3 retweets, I'm like, oh, that tweet crushed it, man. I do not get a lot of love on Twitter. I'm not verified. I don't know how you get that.
I don't know how you get that either. What do you think
I
you're
know
doing
like
wrong?
A lot of comics at the same level as me, verified. I don't know how you do it. No one knows. I think they'd just contact you and do
I
it.
wouldn't worry about it. There are producers of TV shows in Grand Rapids that are verified. I saw it. You can be a newspaper writer in Idaho and they'll verify you. It really depends on who owns what you work for and if there's connections. That's what it is if you know somebody that knows Twitter. Like when you used to have the blue check mark, it meant you're important, and now it seems like everyone has them.
Yeah, everybody but me.
So where can people see you this weekend?
Well, I'm at Side Splitters in Tampa all weekend. Tonight we have 2 shows, tomorrow we have 3, and Sunday we have 1.
And I get listens also, not just in Tampa, but in other cities. So where else are you going to be coming up in the next few months?
Oh, man. This is a character flaw maybe, but I rarely know more than 1 or 2 weeks out. Next week I have 2 corporate shows that probably you can't go to in Charlotte and Cleveland.
What's it like doing a show like that, a corporate show?
Sometimes they can be really fun. Sometimes they're weird. It depends on the company. Like, sometimes they want you to be clean, which isn't really a problem for me. I'm pretty clean anyway. Sometimes they want you to, like, shit on their boss, which it can be fun, but also that's the person that's paying you for the weekend, so it can be weird.
Yeah, how do you shit on the boss without pissing off his ego?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. If they have a good sense of humor, then it's easier, but you don't know where the line is. They're asking you to make fun of a person that you don't know.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened?
I'm not like a roast comic.
Yeah.
But I will shit on someone if you pay me. I would be happy to come.
Has there been a time, though, when you've shit on someone? Let's say it was at one of those events, or it was at a crowd, an open mic, where the person got mad at you. Has it ever got into an altercation?
No, I've never. And if I have, maybe I have, and there's someone out there that hates me, but I don't.
Fuck Andy Woodhull.
I don't
Piece
remember
of shit.
any. I feel like everyone that I've ever went after in the audience had it coming, knew they had it coming, and didn't get mad that I said something.
How mad do hecklers make you?
I I don't mind hecklers, really, because people don't, maybe it's just because people don't heckle me that much. If someone yells something and I say something back, totally fine with that interaction.
Yeah.
What's way more annoying to me is just people not paying attention.
And they're on their phone.
I would rather have hecklers, than people on their phone.
Do you call someone out if they're on, like, let's say Twitter or something?
No, I don't anymore. And the reason why is because there's so many people. My whole show would be about that, because people can't keep it in there.
I'm an addict to social media.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to work on it, dude. I have an addiction to myself. It's not healthy.
What I do is what I did when I walked in here, because I'm the same. If I feel a vibrate in my pocket, I have this, like, what is it? I have to look. What if it's an offer for a gig? What if it's a TV offer?
I'm the same way.
Look.
What if they got back to me?
I have to turn it off. I just have to turn it off sometimes. I have to turn it off and be like, I'll get a message when I turn it back on.
Well, I'll do it for my brand. Like, I filmed you talking about marriage, but it wasn't like I checked the phone to see who hit me up. You know what I mean? Because the message is going to be there in an hour. It's not like it's going to leave. It's not like there's an expiration date where that message is going to leave. I feel like we live so much not in the moment anymore when it comes to social media, that it's taking over our life, and we don't really see what's around us, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel like that, but also no one's going to change.
I meditate. That's what helps me, dude.
Is that right?
Yeah, I meditate all the time. I didn't today. I'm a little jacked up. I'm not sure why. I'm very hyper today. But when I meditate, dude, you got to do the same thing, man. It makes you appreciate everything you have.
Oh, well, maybe I will.
Well, dude, keep up the good work, man. I love your laid-back vibe. You bring in comedy and off the mic, because so many comics I've had on take themselves too seriously. But at the same time, they're really good, but they kind of have that douchey comic vibe. And you just come off like the regular Joe that you can get a beer with.
Oh, yeah. Let's go have one right now.
Damn right, dude. Keep up the good work, Andy.
Thanks, Ryan.
This has been Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying peace out.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.